I want to place my gratitude to Alex Omar for putting this program together. I think it takes a hell of a lot of work to be able to plan and execute a training program, a 3-day training program of this nature, especially to coordinate activities of different lecturers and facilitators across the world to be able to get this to happen in Nigeria. So I am very, very grateful to Alex, and I'm actually very proud of Alex for being able to do this, because he continues to put Nigeria on the global spotlight by doing these sort of innovations and training programs. So I think a round of applause to Alex for a wonderful, thanks guys. So I just want to also acknowledge the Nigeria Packaging Academy as well. This training program is, as you know, it's a 3-day virtual and residential training program. I'm going to open the program in the sense that I'm going to give you a bit of perspective about packaging, and I'll also introduce some of these organizations that are supporting this training program over the next 3 days. So the first organization I think we need to recognize is the World Packaging Organization, as you can see. So the World Packaging Organization is, it is a global organization that is now having 57, probably by now it's 59 countries as members. Therefore, it has quite a big support and following, and much of the packaging, I wouldn't say legislation because that's very country specific, but much of the packaging thinking and thought processes and general directions are set and chased by WPO. So it's quite a massive organization. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Then, of course, backing this training program over the next 3 days is the African Packaging Organization, of which Alex is the president right now. So APO is made up of a few African countries, and it is also a member of WPO. Then we have the Institute of Packaging in South Africa. This is a packaging institute that I'm very close to. I'm close to all of these packaging institutes, but I'm, as you know, African and South African. So I work very closely with the Institute of Packaging South Africa in terms of training and mentoring of people in South Africa. So a little bit about me. So it's Kishan Singh. I have a BSc degree in chemistry and biochemistry, and I have a master's degree in quality and business process reengineering. Lean Six Sigma Black Belt through Dr. Mikkel Harry's School of Six Sigma in the United States, a certified packaging professional from the United States. And then I'm the managing director of GI Business Solutions, which is a company based in South Africa, but with a global footprint. What GI Business Solutions does is designs, develops, implements business systems like ISO 9000, 14000, 45000, 31000, 50000. If it's an ISO system, we are an expert in putting it in for any of these companies, whether the company is a small family-owned business or whether the company is corporate. We have the capacity and the capability of doing that. Then I'm the National Education Chairman for the Institute of Packaging South Africa, where I have national responsibility for the complete academia at IPSA. I'm also a training ambassador for the World Packaging Organization. And in that role, I spend much time traveling the world and delivering papers, position papers, lectures, training workshops to universities, governments, and business centers across 57 countries. So this is the role I play as a global ambassador for WPO. And then lastly, I'm also the CEO of MedPack South Africa. I'll speak about MedPack South Africa later. But essentially, MedPack South Africa is a PRO, which is a producer responsibility organization that is responsible for articulating metal packaging reporting to the government of South Africa. So I'm actually at that coalface, at that front, where I represent the industry as a united voice at government in that role. And my contact details are below. I have a lecturer, trainer, mentor who is sitting physically amongst you, Amit Suknandan. And so I just want to quickly talk about the World Packaging Organization. This is a non-profit organization that was founded in 1968 in Tokyo, Japan. So at the time, it was seen to be a necessity for the packaging organization, for packaging professionals or packaging industries to get together and form a global organization. And you know what? 1968 is only 52 years ago. So what I want to just leave you with this thinking is that prior to 60 years ago, packaging was not a major discussion point on the planet. I'm going to just say that again and leave you with that thought so you can digest it. 60 years and further ago, packaging was not a discussion point on the planet. I'm going to let that digest a bit, because packaging has only become a discussion only in the last maybe 50 to 40 years ago. And I'll tell you why as well. So once WPO was formed, all of a sudden, you've got many, many countries that started to see the merit of WPO and started to join it. What is the objectives of WPO? It's really to encourage the development of packaging, technology, packaging as a science. It contributes to the development of international trade, because now that we have almost 60 member countries, we can facilitate cross-subsidization of packaging. We can also design and develop supply chains from member country to member country. So it has a very pivotal role that it plays at a global and a strategic level. And of course, one of the biggest things that WPO does is foster packaging education and technology across the world. And this is why I am here today representing WPO. And my job today is actually to do as much training as possible and on behalf of WPO. Okay, so that's why I am here, and this is actually why Amit is here as well. Fortunately for you, Amit is resident in Nigeria at the present because of his job situation. So you guys have quite a key lecturer trainer in Nigeria in Amit right now. Okay.
Brilliant, Kishan. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to talk about some global packaging trends. I've already done the introduction to WPO and things. I'm just going to talk about some packaging trends and stats, and then I want to focus, I think most importantly this morning, I want to focus on environmental sustainability and the impact human beings are having on the planet. And I want to talk about the current South African legislation on circular economies. I may be talking about South African legislation, but this is what is exactly happening now in Europe, in Scandinavia, in China, Indonesia, Far East, and all of that. The very same legislations and this very same thrust and drive on circular economies is happening. I'm going to touch on some food safety management, and then Amit will take over with print processes and some packaging materials, and we'll close the day or the session with nanotechnology. I'm not sure what Alex has got planned after that, but let's kick into it. Packaging contains the product, it protects the product, it preserves, it enables portions. I'm going to show you all of this in pictures now. And it communicates, it educates, and informs the consumer. It transports the product and delivers the product through the supply chain. And it also acts as merchandising. So merchandising, by merchandising, I mean the packaging is used to sell the product on the shelf. If you don't have the product in the packaging, you will never be able to sell the product. Merchandising means physically placing the product in the packaging on a shelf. I'm talking about at a shelf in a supermarket and things. Then it motivates the purchase and use. And use how? Through graphics, through consumer appeal. When a person is shopping, let's say you're pushing your trolley through an aisle and you stop at a packaging that you like. You got less than 3 seconds to make that decision. And if the packaging does not communicate to you properly in the 3 seconds, you won't buy the product. Therefore, we have a problem. And therefore, we say packaging is an absolute critical thing in consumer purchasing. And I'm just going to close here. It also enables business. It enables modern living and convenient use. Without the packaging, could you have milk for breakfast? I mean, look at that guy. He went to the farm, he's got his milk, and then it eventually couldn't get it to his breakfast table. So this is the problem. This is why we must not take packaging for granted. It's a valuable part of our lives. Packaging is with us from the time you open your toothpaste in the morning. That's packaging. Till the time you put your head on your pillow, which came wrapped in some polyethylene bag, is packaging. So from the time you wake up till the time you sleep, you're in packaging. The last point I've got in red there is environmental sustainability, and I will talk a lot about this just now. So here's the containment. This is how packaging contains. If it didn't contain sugar, how are you going to move sugar around? You got to have it in a packaging. It protects. Imagine Easter eggs without proper packaging. It'll be smashed. It'll be smashed in the supply chain. What about bulbs, globes for houses? Imagine we just throw it into the back of a bucky and sending it around the world. Is this going to work? No, we've got to have it properly packaged. It preserves. Imagine food that the farmer is harvesting. How is it going to get to you unless it's properly packaged? It enables portions. What do I mean by that? We can give you sugar, one package of sugar for 1 cup of tea, you know? So this is the beauty about packaging in the modern world. Communicates, it educates, it informs, especially pharmaceutical packaging, very critical. How to take your tablets and medication, the doses and all of that. A lot of information is communicated through DIY, do-it-yourself packaging. Bread, very critical. If you don't have the right packaging for bread, which is a staple diet, not only in Nigeria, not only in South Africa, but across the world, you'll have a problem trying to move bread around the world. Here's a trick, a very neat packaging trick. These are the clips that we put onto the bread. I'm talking about here. Can you see my cursor? Right here, there's a clip. There's a clip here. Imagine if we had a clip that's color-coded, blue for Monday, green for Tuesday, red for Thursday, and we go on like this. We'll be able to tell how old the bread is. I mean, how often do you open the bread cupboard and you look at the bread and you ask yourself, is this 2 days old, or 1 day, or 3 days, or 5 days? Here's a technique that will be able to tell you that. Other functions of packaging is security and inertness. Of course, packaging and presentation, appearance and presentation is very crucial as well. I'm not going to talk too much about packaging as a in terms of appearance and things, because this in itself is a whole 1 week workshop. So let's quickly talk about some packaging stats globally. Here is a trend that talks about what is the global packaging GDP in US dollars, actually in billion US dollars. So you will notice that around 2010, we were tracking about 700 billion US dollars. It's quite a lot. Now, over the time, with each year, we are increasing the packaging GDP on the planet. So in 2018, we were just short of 1 trillion US dollars. 1 trillion US dollars. And the thing is, right now, in 2019, well, I can't give you 2020 stats, but I'll tell you in 2019, we have surpassed 1 trillion US dollars. If we take the split of packaging consumption by region globally from, say, 2012 to 2018, I don't have 2019 stats, but I can assure you it won't be much different from 2018. You can see that Asia represents 36% of the global packaging consumption. And Western Europe, 23%, North America, 23%. And let's look at Africa. Africa is 2%. When? That was in 2012. Now, in 2018, Africa grew by 1% to 3% of the world's packaging consumption. Now, let me ask you a question. We in Africa, we are 1 billion people out of 7.8 billion, call it 8 billion. So we are 1/8 of the global population on this planet, and we only account for 3% of the packaging consumption. That is because much of Africa is still emerging as an economy. And I can predict for you that in the next 10 years, if I show you the slide, Africa will be about 7 to 10% of the world's packaging GDP. What does that mean? Think about what I'm saying. Imagine the packaging industry potential in Africa. Can you consider this? It's probably inconceivable to understand the packaging growth potential in Africa. And forget about Africa. You are sitting in Nigeria. Think about your growth potential in the packaging industry in Nigeria. It's going to be phenomenal. So if I was you, I'll start getting into some serious packaging business in Nigeria. This is just splitting the same packaging into packaging food and drink. So I won't talk too much about that. And here's the thing. If you want to then split it into packaging as by substrate, you see that plastic and board account for almost 50%, both in 2012 and 2018. Rigid plastic and board, paper board, corrugated, all of that account for almost half, more than half. And then flexible packaging is 22%. So if you take packaging, whether it's rigid packaging or flexible packaging, that's already 50% of the whole packaging GDP. It's a very, very, plastic is, how shall I put it? We live in the age of plastics right now. You remember we came through the Stone Age, we came to the Copper Age, and we came through the Metal Age, Now I can tell you we are what is known as the packaging plastic age, which is a frightening thing because of the sustainability issues or ramifications with plastic packaging. I'm going to skip to some of these slides because we don't have the time to go through it. But I'll share them with Alex, who will be able to give it to you. So let me go straight into sustainability.
Globalization is a widely discussed topic. It is therefore not all that easy to explain such a complicated term in simple words. Let's start from the beginning with the background to globalization. Advances in technology, such as mobile phones, aeroplanes, telephones, and the internet, have made the growth of transport and communication networks possible. Amongst other things, this means that people and countries can exchange information and goods more quickly and in a less complicated way. This process is called globalization. Globalization comes from globe and means the worldwide coming together of countries and nations. Let's look at an example. Companies used to manufacture products in their home countries, just like the companies Profi TV and Supercolor, who produce televisions in country A. Their products are in direct competition with each other, but both companies pay the same salaries and production costs. They have the same customers, use similar suppliers, and sell televisions at similar prices. In short, the same conditions apply to both companies. So far, so good. Due to technical, cultural, and economic developments that have come about through globalization, other companies which manufacture products under different conditions can now offer their products in country A too. That's why a company from country B can sell televisions here at a lower price because they were produced for less. The local firms Supercolor and Profi TV have to react to withstand the competition. And so the world grows closer together, and there is an active exchange of goods between countries. More affordable products are available for more people. However, not only does an exchange of products and economic goods take place, but also of services, knowledge, cultural goods, and even languages. All of these individual elements are closely linked and influence each other. But where there is light, there is also shadow. Because of globalization and this intense exchange of goods, people and the environment often suffer. If a company decides to move production to an economically disadvantaged country, people in industrialized countries lose their jobs. At the same time, job opportunities open up to many locals in the economically disadvantaged country. Many people in these countries work for very little money in comparison to those in industrialized countries. Therefore, they often remain poor and more often than not do not have sufficient insurance, social insurance, or health insurance cover. A further disadvantage of globalization is ecological problems such as climate change. The use of aeroplanes, ships, and lorries to transport goods over international borders is constantly on the increase. This causes more carbon dioxide to be released into the atmosphere, which, in turn, is the main cause of global warming. Even national environmental standards are ignored. This is a further cost factor in the worldwide international site competition, which should be kept as low as possible to be attractive for a company. There are therefore many sides to globalization which affect almost all aspects of life, causing me to think that the chain of positive and negative effects will continue to grow further. What's important is to realize that globalization itself is neither good nor bad. It just depends how people deal with all the new possibilities in the future.
All right. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. So that is, I'm about to talk about sustainability over the next half an hour. And I thought this video on globalization is a good introduction to the concept because sustainability and the planet's current status is where the planet is where it is now because of globalization. Globalization is a term which refers to countries exchanging products, exchanging ideas, exchanging goods, exchanging money. How is this possible? This is possible through supply chains. Supply chains are the reason why the world has become so small. The world has literally contracted because now we can sell things to Nigeria, Nigeria can sell to Europe, Europe can sell to China, China can sell to America, and we keep moving things around. This is globalization. Because of globalization, we've got to be very competitive, and that is why we've got to be concerned about parity pricing, which is one of the bullet points here. Parity pricing means comparative. Parity comes from the word compare. Compare means, are you comparable with China in terms of production of shoes? Parity pricing talks about comparative pricing across the planet. And you got to become the lowest cost producer. Otherwise, you will not be able to compete with the rest of the world, and therefore you will not increase your GDP. These are all issues that relate to globalization. What I want you to just be aware of is in 1700s, in around 1780, was the birth of the industry in the planet as you and I know it now. We are basking in the sunshine of people that worked very hard before us. And it all happened in 1780 when somebody discovered that the wheel can be converted into a gear. And from a gear, we were able to form a gearbox, and gearboxes led to mechanization, and mechanization led to mass production. Mass production led to a surplus of goods in each country. Surplus of goods in each country led to cross-border sales, which led to globalization and supply chains. I think I put the story in good perspective there. Now, because of 1780 and the Industrial Revolution, number one, we call that the Industrial Revolution number one in 1780. Then, about 100 years later, at around 1870, let's say 1880, because that's about 100 years later, we discovered electricity. Now, imagine coupling electricity with mechanics. We have electromechanical production. Now we are moving into a high-speed production, high-speed mass production. And then in 1970, which is about 100 years after, so this is here, if you watch my cursor, is the Industrial Revolution number one, let's say 1780. But 100 years later, Industrial Revolution number two, 1870. About 100 years later, Industrial Revolution number three, 1970. What happened in 1970? 1970 is only 50 years ago. Only 50 years ago. That was the birth of, not electronics, the birth of IT, the birth of computers. And now we can couple the electricity with mechanical. We've got electromechanical. Now we have PLC, logic controlled systems, because of digitization and computerization. Now, human beings, all of a sudden, have become immensely powerful with this technology. So what has happened over the last 50 years, that rate of mass production, which we enjoyed for 200 years prior to 50 years ago, over the last 50 years, we have accelerated it. Now, as a result of this, we are sitting now in 2020, and we call it the age of the fourth industrial revolution, or FIR. Now, let me tell you that right now we're sitting in a very precarious situation, because if we do not mend the ways we behave in industry and the ways we produce and manufacture, and if we have to extrapolate our behavioral pattern over the last 200 years, there is no hope for the planet in the next 500 years. I do not mean to be all doom and gloom, but I'm a realist. And I'm saying that we need to think seriously about how we are manufacturing, the rate at which we are dependent on the Earth's natural resources, and we have to change thinking. And this is why I'm going to be talking about environmental sustainability. Right now, this is a graph that's not drawn by KISHAN, SINGH, or WPO. This is a graph that is drawn by United Nations, who is based in Vienna. They are telling me and you that in 2000, the population of human beings on the planet was about 6.5 billion. And now in 2020, we're sitting at around 8 billion. I'm not sure how big the screen is. I don't know, Amit, if you want to go to the screen and just put your finger from 2020 and just go up to the y-axis and show me 8 billion human beings on this planet, 8 billion hungry mouths to feed. Now, why I'm telling you that is, if you go 100 years before, that's 100 years before, it's not a hell of a long time, it's one man's lifetime. One man lives for 100 years these days. I'm telling you, 100 years earlier, in 1920, that was when Mandela was born. So therefore, in the lifetime of Mandela, the population on the planet, leave South Africa and Africa, I'm talking about on the whole planet, has shifted from 2 billion. If you closely look at what I'm showing you here, in 1920, the human population on the planet Earth was only 2 billion. Now it is 8 billion. Where all those extra souls came from? Oh, where are all these people coming from? And where are they going? We are just biologically producing on this planet because of high levels of comfort that's attributable purely to packaging and supply chains. I'm going to pause to let you understand what I've just said. We are basking from 1780, Industrial Revolution #1. I've taken you all the way to the fourth Industrial Revolution where we are. I've told you we're in a precarious situation. I've shown you that in 100 years, we've moved from 2 billion to 8 billion. What is the impact of that on this planet? The one blue planet we're living on. We are taking all the oil. Nigeria is one of the most richest sources of oil on the planet. I'm not sure whether there are experts in oil in Nigeria. But if you go and ask the Nigerian experts about oil, they're going to tell you, we got oil for about maybe 200-300 years. They can't tell you we got oil for the next 5,000 years because we don't. And it's not only, I'm telling you this is a fact, it's not only in Nigeria. I'm telling you on the planet, we do not have oil for another 3,000 or 4,000 years because oil takes 20 to 30,000 years to develop underground, maybe 50,000 years. Yet we, in less than 50 to 100 years, we've taken out almost all the oil resources on this planet. I know I'm sounding a bit dangerous and a bit doomy and gloomy, but this is a fact. This is what we are facing on the planet, and we really need to wake up and reverse some of the thinking. Otherwise, we're going to be in very bad situation. The planet is not going to be able to sustain us for the next 300 to 400 years. So I'm even predicting that the human population in the next 1,000 or 2,000 years may be non-existent on the planet. Serious business, guys. This is not jokes. As you can see here, the natural resource consumption against time over the exact same time period that I've just shown you. This is proof that we are eating into the planet at a rate which exceeds the ability of the planet to reconstitute its natural resources. Is that a good thing? Terrible. It's a very bad thing. So we need to watch what we do and how we behave on the planet. Here's another graph which reinforces my point. So what are the trends? I've told you about the global population shock. Because of that, we excessively deforestation. More people means we need more houses. More houses means we need more cities. So what? Let's take the trees out. Let's take the grass out. Let's take everything out. Let's put a city. Let's put a shopping mall. Let's put a freeway. Therefore, let's put an airport. What are we doing? We're killing every blade of grass. And it is the blades of grass and the trees that sustain human beings. So we have another problem with deforestation. As a result of deforestation, we have excessive carbon dioxide emissions. And then what's the carbon dioxide emissions? I'm not going to go into the detail now, but we start talking about carbon footprints and we start talking about the global warming. We talk about the warming, because carbon dioxide is forming a cloud over us. And what's the greenhouse effect? In a greenhouse, you'll find the temperature in the greenhouse to be a little bit higher. It's warmer in the greenhouse because it has a cloud. It has a green cloud over it. It's the same thing that we're doing with the carbon dioxide. Where's the carbon dioxide coming from? Who? Human beings are putting the carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. How? By excessive manufacturing. Since when? Since 1780. Industrial Revolution number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So therefore, we are rising global temperatures. So we are rising sea levels, because as the temperatures rise, the snow-capped mountains that have been in snow for, the planet is how old? 4.5 billion years. Earth is only 4.5 billion years ago. For 3.5 billion years, those mountains have been snow-capped. In the last 200 years, what has happened? Many of those snow-capped mountains have melted. Why? Because the temperature on the planet is increased. Why? Because human beings are manufacturing, and they are using the natural resources, and why? Also because of packaging. This is the issues. These are all connected issues. Nothing is disconnected. I'm trying to get you to see the connections. So we have a problem. Unfortunately, our population is rapidly rising. And it is rising beyond the Earth's ability to regenerate. So we're in trouble, guys. We are exceeding the carrying capacity of the planet. So we can say that here until 2010, here's a kicker. Here's a kicker. If you can't find serious shock in the slide I'm just showing you, you need to watch the slide again. In around 2010, we were consuming natural resources from this planet Earth at the rate of 1.5 times the Earth can give us. So we put an Earth and a half. We're saying if we continue along the same trajectory, and if we can project into the year 2050, human beings at this rate are going to need the resources of 3 planet Earths. So how are we going to get it? Amit, can you go and find another 2 in the next 20 years? Is it possible, Amit? I'll give you 20 years, Amit. I'll give you 30 years. Can you just go and find another 2 planet Earths close by so we can go there and start taking the coal, the oil, and the vegetation and everything, and we can wreck the other 2 planets up as well? No, we cannot do that. The only thing we can do is reverse. So we need to get to this point. By 2050, we need to get back to 1 planet Earth. 1 planet Earth means there is not enough on the planet for everybody's need. There is enough on the planet for everybody's need, but not enough for everybody's greed. So we talk about sustainability. We need to be able to, as packaging manufacturers, we need to be responsible. Therefore, in South Africa, we have what is known now as packaging responsibility organizations. So for short, we call them PROs. So a PRO's job is to look at, so a PRO is the way the PROs are formed in South Africa. There's 1 PRO for every substrate. In other words, for vinyl, there's South African Vinyl Association. For glass, there's Glass Recycling Company. For metal, there's Medpack. And if you remember my introduction at the beginning, I told you I'm the CEO of Medpack. So one of my jobs as the CEO of Medpack is to report on the total metal packaging put into South Africa every year to government. And not just reporting, I got to commit to to government, I've got to commit on what is the packaging, metal packaging, post-consumer. In other words, after the consumer has drank the beer or drank the Coke, when they throw the cans out of the car, we need to go and pick it up. Who's we? The packaging industry. And so the METPAC is a producer responsibility organization that is then responsible reporting to the government on recovery, post-consumer metal packaging recovery rates. So at the moment, I can share with you in South Africa, we put out into South Africa, so that the metal packaging industry in South Africa puts into South Africa every year 200,000 tons of metal packaging. And we collect back, after the consumer has used it, we collect back 75 to 76% of that. Let's call it 75%. That means 150,000 tons is brought back. What happens to all the material that is used by the consumer, thrown out into the housewife, throws it into the consumer, into the black bag, when the municipality comes to collect it in the morning? All that stuff is put into the black bag. That stuff, somebody somewhere collects it and brings it back to the industry, and the industry reuses it in what is known as a circular economy, hence the term circular. So John Elkington coined the term, the triple bottom line, in around 1990. I encourage you to take the name down, John Elkington, Elkington. Around 1990, he coined the term triple bottom line. And I would encourage you to go and research the ideas of John Elkington. Of course, now it's an industry standard. Historically, we measured companies and businesses purely on their financial equity, which means balance sheet and profit statements. Gone are those days. Gone are those days. Globally, as if a business is not adhering to, besides profit, to planet and people, that business, by virtue of its brand, will be ousted from the global community. And who has got the power to oust a brand like that? It's you and I, the consumer. If we feel that there's a problem with a particular brand, and I will not mention any brands because this is a very neutral training session, but you pick a brand and there's a problem with it, it's very easy for you to kill that brand by just not buying it. So brands need to demonstrate a commitment to a triple bottom line approach. In other words, a true reverence, a true patriotism to the planet Earth, to the people of the planet Earth, and lastly to the profit that we, the people of the planet, make. So it's people, planet, and profit. That's a triple bottom line. Okay, I can go on talking about triple bottom line because that on its own is probably a week's discussion you can have. I mean, this triple bottom line, by the way, is now global discussion points. Global congresses and conferences are being held on that. So that's why I'm saying encourage you to do. The other thing I want you to remember is FIR, which is a fourth industrial revolution. I want you to take note of that, write those notes down and go and research this. So in South Africa, we have industry regulations. We have the National Environment Waste Management Act. And this act has sections to the act. And section or regulation 28 of NEMA in South Africa forces industry to manage its waste through industry waste management plans. And METPAC is part of that. And so is all of the packaging components in South Africa. They all have their own industry waste management plans, which are communicating 5-year strategies and 5 and 10-year commitments on material reduction and post-consumer material recoveries. And therefore demonstrating its commitment to true circular economies. Yep. And this is an indication of, this is how it's depicted: an environmental impact, a social impact, and an economic impact. That's planet profit people. A lot of you would have seen this picture. It may be shown in various different formats, but essentially this is what I mean by planet, profit, people, or the bottom line, or triple bottom line, or 3BL. 3BL, I'm going to say it again, 3BL, triple bottom line, planet, profit, people. I would encourage you to take those words down and go and research that. Stop the noise, huh? Any discussion on that video? Amit, are we able to just... Amit, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
That was a very emotive video. Amit, I just want to know, can you just take 2 to 3 minutes and get some perception from or reaction from the class? I just want to see what is their views on this.
That was really an emotional video, but I think my question would be how economies like Nigeria can really do something about issues like this, especially when you're looking at packaging. So we know how bad the economy is, and we now have almost everything in sachets, which is really a big environmental issue now. And so I'm wondering how these solutions, which, quite important, but how can economies like poor economies like Nigeria adapt, move, or should I say, become more environmental friendly, considering all of the economic and economic problems that we have.
Yeah, that's firstly, thank you for acknowledging the emotion and the human emotion in that video. Because firstly, if the rest of the class caught the human pathos and the human emotion there, then I'm happy. The thing is, I'm not sure why the lady would say that Nigeria's economy is struggling. Well, it might. You must remember that you're one of the biggest economies on the planet, huh?
People can't pay for things.
I mean, I think
in the sachet.
Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa probably. I'm not sure if I'm. I think I'm right. It's probably three biggest economies on the planet. But let's answer the question. We need to be able. We need to, when we manufacture, when we package, when we do whatever we do, we need, if we pay a little bit more attention to the impact on the planet, and therefore the impact on our great grandchildren, you will automatically be able to reduce your negative impact on the planet. It just takes a little bit of effort. Some of the things, I'm not sure what, I heard you say something about everything is packed in sachets, or maybe I misheard you. But I'm not sure what your packaging style is, but packaging plays a very crucial role. And it is possible to reconsider packaging materials. And I'm strongly metal, so I'm not going to say anything, but there's lots, there's paper, there's board, there's glass, there's corrugated. There's even plastics that are friendly to the planet. And we need to then, like PET and things, and we need to use those rather than those multi-layered flexible packaging that are engineered for specific functionalities as packaging. Some of these things we must guard against doing it. I mean, look, we can get very philosophical about that answer, but the short answer is it's possible by active management that we can reverse the trend on the planet. Amit, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that comment or to the video.
Well, from my observations, I think with Nigeria, and I think if you having been here and spent some time here, Kishan, as well, I think the major problem right now is ERPs and PROs, because at the moment, producers don't take responsibility for their packaging. There are no Petcos and of the likes. There's a huge surplus of PET bottles that can be recycled. I drove to Agbara twice since I've been here, on the side of the road for what stretches for about 3-4 kilometers of waste PET bottles that doesn't get recycled. So I think, there's no drive, simply because, well, for whatever reason, I think I'm too new here to answer that question. But I'm saying there needs to be a drive and a focus on recyclability, and something that as packaging professionals, you need to focus on moving forward. I've seen roads being blocked simply because of waste, and it's packaging waste and stuff that can be recycled. So yeah, I think from my point of view, I think that's just an observation. I don't know if you agree with me.
Oh, brilliant.
You don't see it every day on your roads, and it's something that can be solved.
I can tell you
immediately can be solved. So yeah. Kishan, you want to move on?
I've been in Nigeria a few times now, and I've conducted training physically. Like Amit, you are standing there. I'm a bit envious that you are standing there and I can't be there. But I've been here many times in Nigeria. It's a wonderful place. Yes, it's overpopulated. Yes, the infrastructure is not good. But I can tell you that airport is fantastic. From the way I saw it, like 10 years ago, so recently, there's lots of strides of improvement. And it is this sort of forward thinking that will take Nigeria into a more focused area on the map. Amit is quite right. It takes a little bit of active thinking about how to manage post-consumer packaging. The problem is, what the problem is? Complacency. We've lived through the last 100 years. We've just been making things and then we started to package it. That's why I told you at the outset, packaging is only a 50-year-old discussion point. Yeah. It's not older than that. And packaging has made our lives very easy, because without packaging, you see, You got to go in your car, cup your hands, get the milk, and come back home to have your breakfast. Ridiculous. So packaging has made our lives very easy. But why don't we become responsible about post-consumer packaging and find a way of separating it at source, managing it through the collection channels, getting it back to the producer? It's possible to do that. It takes some effort, but it's possible to do that. I'm going to move on. So here is just a screen which shows you that over the years, and I can show you even beyond 2008, if you take washing up a liquid bottle, in the 70s, it was weighing 120 grams. In the 2008s, it was weighing about 43 grams. Now, in 2020, I would say this thing's about 28 to 27 grams now. A soup can, 90 grams in 1950, now 49 grams in 2008, and now it'll be about 40 grams in 2020. And so we can go on. I'm not going to talk about this, but you get the picture. We, over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years, we have understood that we must package minimalistically. Every time we consider packaging by design, at the design stage, we must take out unnecessary material, and we must design in the potential for recyclability and recoverability. Not after we use the packaging and then finish the product, then we say, oh, now what are we going to do with it? No, when you're designing, you design for recyclability. So we talk about the green economy, and I've spoken about some of these. I think we can skip to these. Yes, the challenge is that the benefits in moving to a green economy is only going to be realized 40, 50 years from now, even 100 years from now. And most people are not thinking 20, 30 years. They don't even think 10 years. They just want to make money now and live a nice life now. What about your children? What about your children's children and their children? In 4 generations from now, are we going to have clean running water? Forget about oil and forget about metal packaging. I'm asking about water are we going to have? It's going to be unlikely.
Living systems have been around for a few billion years and will be around for many more. In the living world, there's no landfill. Instead, materials flow. One species' waste is another's food, energy is provided by the sun, things grow, then die, and nutrients return to the soil safely. And it works. Yet as humans, we've adopted a linear approach. We take, we make, and we dispose. A new phone comes out, so we ditch the old one. Our washing machine packs up, so we buy another. Each time we do this, we're eating into a finite supply of resources and often producing toxic waste. It simply can't work long term. So what can? If we accept that the living world's cyclical model works, can we change our way of thinking so that we too operate a circular economy? Let's start with the biological cycle. How can our waste build capital rather than reduce it? By rethinking and redesigning products and components, and the packaging they come in, we can create safe and compostable materials that help grow more stuff. As they say in the movies, no resources have been lost in the making of this material. So what about the washing machines, mobile phones, fridges? We know they don't biodegrade. Here, we're talking about another sort of rethink, a way to cycle valuable metals, polymers, and alloys so they maintain their quality and continue to be useful beyond the shelf life of individual products. What if the goods of today became the resources of tomorrow? It makes commercial sense. Instead of the throw away and replace culture we've become used to, we'd adopt a return and renew one. where products and components are designed to be disassembled and regenerated. One solution may be to rethink the way we view ownership. What if we never actually owned our technologies? We simply licensed them from the manufacturers. Now, let's put these two cycles together. Imagine if we could design products to come back to their makers, their technical materials being reused and their biological parts increasing agricultural value. And imagine that these products are made and transported using renewable energy. Here we have a model that builds prosperity long-term. And the good news is, there are already companies out there who are beginning to adopt this way of working. But the circular economy isn't about one manufacturer changing one product. It's about all the interconnecting companies that form our infrastructure and economy coming together. It's about energy. It's about rethinking the operating system itself. We have a fantastic opportunity to open new perspectives and new horizons. Instead of remaining trapped in the frustrations of the present, with creativity and innovation, we really can rethink and redesign our future.
So here's a concept of nanotechnology. I'm not going to talk about this because Amit's got a presentation on this. And so Amit will unpack quite a lot of detail on nano. But I just want to introduce the word and the fact that nano is probably one of the mechanisms for future thinking, and all of the planet profit people or triple bottom line background that we're looking for may be supported by nano, and Amit will provide some perspective later. So, I'm just going to go, Alex. I'm going to go on for probably another 15 to 20 minutes, and then I'll come to the end of my session, and then I'll hand it over to Amit. But that might be a good moment to take a comfort break. So I'll be probably 15 minutes more. So we have another problem on the planet, and that is wasting food. So the shocking thing is that only 2/3 of what is harvested by the farmer actually gets to the consumer, which means that 1/3 of food is actually thrown away. Can you imagine a farmer producing 10 tons of bananas and 3 tons is thrown away? Only 7 tons gets to the consumer. It's shocking. And here's another thing, 35% or 1.3 billion tons of food is wasted and ends up in landfills. And yet there are so many people that want food to eat. So typically, food is harvested, it's then processed, it's packaged, it's distributed, and then it is brought home where you put it into your cupboard, and then it's consumed, and then we dispose. And in this product life cycle, we lose quite a lot of the food. So problems associated with food waste includes packaging. A lot of people think that packaging is a bad idea or a bad thing. And you know why? Because when you look at Nigeria, all you see is waste packaging all over the road and in the parks and in the benches and even on the sea, even on the beaches. So this is an image of packaging which people have, and this is why it has a negative image. But let me tell you that packaging has a role to play, because if you use the packaging correctly, you can reduce the amount of losses of food along the supply chain if you cleverly package it. So here's some of the food waste problems. You also increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and most of the food ends up in landfill, which also contributes to the space shortage. You know, there isn't much landfill space on the planet any longer. we are getting to the point where we can't actually keep dumping things. You don't like it here, dump it there, sort of thing. Do you know that we're dumping in space now? Is anybody aware that lots of our stuff is taken off the planet and spaceships then throw them into the atmosphere, and then they start circulating and orbiting in or free falling not free falling, but free floating in space? This, I think, is an absolute cheek of humanity. You know, we've messed up the planet, now we're messing up space. It's an absolute cheek of human beings. No other animal, by the way, no other animal does that, what we do. Every other animal acts responsibly on this planet. The only one animal is the human being. It's a shocking problem. Responding to the problem, we need to do proper processing and packaging and distribution of fruit and vegetables. Production and distribution even of meat is much better through better packaging and alternative waste disposal technologies, such as waste to energy. In other words, as things become considered to be waste, we can use it. Maybe we can even burn it and incinerate it and generate heat, which is required for other production items. So we can do a lot about this. Packaging plays a very significant role in saving food. So metal packaging, for instance, if you take sweet corn, which is on the left-hand side, what this picture is saying to you is that, sorry, let me just go back there. What this picture is saying to you is that corn, I'm sure there's a lot of corn in Nigeria. I mean, is that right? No, there's actually not much corn. I don't remember seeing any mealies there. But anyway, corn fresh, you lose 32% if you handle a corn without any packaging. If you freeze it and put it into packaging, you lose 36%. I'm not sure why. This is supposed to be a little bit higher than 32%. But if you can the corn, you lose 7%, which means when the corn goes into cans, your losses are much lower. If you take peaches, it's 42% loss if you handle it as fresh produce. If you freeze it and package it, you reduce the loss to 35%. If you can it, you reduce the loss to 8%. So you see how packaging plays a role in reducing food wastage. Over 30% of fresh food becomes waste, while only 10% of packaged food ends up as waste. That's a point I was trying to make earlier. But you know something? Many people, 89% of people, think that packaging waste is more harmful to the environment than food waste. So people do not understand, and we need to educate. And this is the purpose of this training program. So people think, I do not like packaging. Packaging damages the environment. I care about climate change impacts. Wasting food is bad, but not me. I don't waste that food. I don't waste a lot. I only waste a little bit in my kitchen every day. The problem is, you are wasting a little bit. I'm wasting a little bit. Alex is wasting a little bit. Amit is wasting a little bit. When we add all the little bits up, we're wasting a lot of food. How much of stuff in your fridge that you got is there for over 9-10 months? What is the purpose? One of the biggest problems in a house is fridges. If we have limited space, we carry less. You know something? The less you carry around with you, the lighter and the greater the agility of the human being. Think about it. So the packaging industry is saying, we all need to reduce the climate change impacts that I've been speaking to you about just now. Wasted food has a significant environmental impact. You know something? Even before you waste the food, when you're cooking the food, consider why you're adding so much to the cook. Because all you're going to do is put in the fridge and then it gets wasted next week. So what you do now is you cook less. You save more. When you are buying in the restaurant, buy less and you save more. When you are buying, even in the supermarket, don't put 10,000 things in the trolley. Consume less, you save more. If every human being, how many on the planet? 8 billion. If all of us had to adopt even 10% of what I'm telling you, this planet will be 20 times better. So your wasted food has a significant environmental impact, and packaging is part of the solution to reducing it. Here's the case. If you do not wrap your bananas up, so identical bunch, this is a picture of bananas, the same banana wrapped in a polyethylene bag, and there's half of that bunch not in the bag. After 7 days, you see what is happening. It's spoiling. Or we can say it's ripening. Here's the cucumber. The cucumber, which is wrapped in a polyethylene plastic, is able to have a shelf life extended from 3 days from harvest of a cucumber to over 2 weeks. A cucumber can last in the supply chain if it is packaged properly. Milk, you cannot transport milk around from a cow without proper packaging. This is a very, very properly engineered packaging. The Clover Tetra Pak. If you look at this, and Amit might, if he's got the time, he might talk about the multi-layer engineering in this packaging, which enables a lot of effects. One is it contains the milk. The other one is it prevents the UV rays from getting to it. So there's a whole lot of things that are engineered into this pack. Yet, when we buy this milk from the shelf, we pay no attention to the design and the engineering of the packaging. One of the difficult things about this packaging, it's got a layer of foil inside, which makes it difficult to recover and recycle. Here's meat. If you do not wrap meat in a barrier packaging, you will lose meat, because meat goes off from the time the animal dies. Immediately, you start setting in a process which starts rotting meat. So the only way you can save this is by packaging it quickly. Number two is by refrigerating it. Here's a breathable polypropylene film and a plastic packaging which protects the content of the package. So this is called a punnet. And a punnet, you can have punnet of herbs, a punnet of peas, a punnet of double beans, or anything of that sort. The packaging is increasing the shelf life, not shelf life, it's reducing the losses and the wastage from typically a 40% loss down to a 3% loss. So packaging plays a critical role in protecting fresh produce and processed foods that are in transit, in storage. And in doing so, it helps to deliver a wide range of functions while reducing food waste. Packaging is critical. Yeah, this is a food waste hierarchy. So in other words, first you prevent it. And then if you can't prevent the losses, then you'll have to distribute it. If you can't distribute it, I'm talking about to human beings, then, and if it is not good enough for human beings, we sometimes downgrade the food into animal feed. And if it's not even enough good even for animal feed, we then end up as compost or renewable energy or disposal. The trick is, countries that are less developed, food tends to be lost at pre-harvest and harvest. But with increasing development and maturity of a country, waste still happens, but not at the harvest. It's up the supply chain to retail and consumption. You see, people that are in affluent countries like America, you'll be shocked at how much of food is lost. Can I tell you that if you go to, what's the place, Amit, in America where they go do all the gambling?
Las Vegas.
Yeah, I can see who's traveling around the world, right? Yeah. Las Vegas. You know, the restaurants, almost every restaurant in Las Vegas does not serve a la carte. They serve a buffet. And do you know something? They put the food out at about 4 or 5 and they take it out at 8 o'clock in the evening and they throw it away. They put another bit on at 8 o'clock and they take it out at 11 o'clock and throw it away. Because if an American senses some part of the food is not right, they'll sue. So these guys take the food out and they throw it away, and they will not give it to the beggars on the street, because a beggar, if he eats a food that is gone off, he'll sue the company that gave him the food. So what do? They throw it away. So the higher the affluence, the more food is being thrown towards the end of the supply chain. The less developed countries, food is being wasted further up the supply chain and harvest. Strange, but true. Here's a graph which shows you the optimal point of packaging design, where we're saying if you underpack, you can end up with losses, and then if you overpack, you end up with a problem as well. So this is an issue, yeah. Alex, I want to thank you for the opportunity to serve you and to serve Nigeria. It has been a joy for me to do this. And as you see, I can be very emotional about packaging and sustainability because I think every human being should be. And it has been a pleasure to be part of this session, this training session. And I want to commend you, Alex, for the initiative. Just the thought. I mean, it takes a man of great thinking and of great stature to be able to put a program like this together. And I want to thank you on behalf of Pierre, who's the president of WPO, and the rest of the executive of WPO. I take this opportunity of extending our greatest and heartfelt wishes to you, and kudos to you for all of the efforts in Nigeria. You're really making Nigeria shine like a beacon of illumination on the African continent, not only in the African continent but globally. And so to Alex, I really salute you. I thank you.